Mick Hubert joining us right now. He is the longtime voice of Florida athletics. He's the only person to ever call championships for college baseball, basketball, and football. That is absolutely incredible. And he has been the voice of the Gators for 30 years, and he's with us on Halftime right now. Mick, appreciate your time. Thanks so much. How are you?
Hey, my pleasure. I'm doing great. And looking forward to a game tomorrow. And, you know, in this 2020 season that's been racked by COVID, it's not only a day-to-day proposition, it's morning to afternoon, and we've got more than 24 hours before kickoff, so nothing is guaranteed. So we hope we can get to the booth and call a game tomorrow night.
Well, and I feel like Florida's got a perspective on that, maybe a little different than a lot of other schools because of the outbreak that you guys had to deal with. You had to have a postponement, and you know, there are players and coaches that were dealing with that virus, and it wasn't just contact tracing. So I feel like Florida's got maybe a bit of a different perspective on what it's like to play football during the pandemic and what some of the repercussions can be if you do come down with a virus than a lot of other schools.
Yeah, we basically, it only takes one incident for this to flare up and get out of control like a wildfire very quickly. Isolated from that, we have done a tremendous job of keeping our athletes free of this and across the board in all the sports, really, up until the outbreak. And then now we're over on the other side of the outbreak, and we had no positive tests this week, and I don't think we had any last week either, but we had enough that 2 games were affected. Now, we were able to reschedule one in, got Missouri in. We still have one outstanding, and that's the December 12th makeup game with LSU. So, I think if we were faced with then playing 7 games on 7 straight Saturdays, and I think if we don't get that in, it won't be because of Florida. I think it'll be because of somebody else. Now, I don't think the Gators, I said this last week, I don't think the Gators are the last team that's going to be affected by this, and it bore out true this week that I think 4 of the 7 league games are already postponed. So you never know when you're going to play again, and so it has been a difficult situation. But I watched it happen a little bit in the NFL, and I realized those are pros, but they basically bounced back almost like they didn't really have any hiccup at all. And you got to say that's kind of the way it's been with Florida. I mean, Missouri is a team that's kind of given us troubles over the years, and we handled them real easily. And then after getting in a 14-0 hole in the first 3 minutes or so last week against Georgia, we went on a 41-7 scoring run and beat them pretty convincingly. So we've had 2 pretty good games in which our defense has really improved. And, coming on the backside of the COVID, you might not have expected that. So we go into every day hopeful that it'll be a good one.
So many really great storylines about this game, with Barry Odom taking over as the interim coach and Sam Pittman having to be home. You got this opportunistic defense against juggernaut offense, but you mentioned about how your defense has improved of late. One thing the Florida defense does very well, better than anybody in the SEC, is get to the quarterback and not allow Kyle Trask to get hit very much. And so that leads to the other storyline, which I think is the most is the most interesting, and that's Feleipe Franks returning to Gainesville. He has been, in my mind, the most valuable player for this entire team, just by the fact that he has stabilized the most important position and played very well outside from just stabilizing it. What's been the read from Gainesville? From a place that knows Feleipe very well, a place that he was booed by the fans a couple of times on how he's performed this year and how they think that he could perform on Saturday in Gainesville.
Well, you're right in terms of the number of storylines. I mentioned just a moment ago that Missouri had given us trouble. Well, guess who was the coach at Missouri for those years?
That's right.
Barry Odom. He went 2-2 against the Gators and won 1 game in the Swamp when he was here last in 2018. So we have great respect for Barry Odom. He'll step in and do a tremendous job. Having said that, Sam Pittman has done a tremendous job. There are a lot of people, as you well know, that question whether Arkansas could win a game. Here they are 3-3 and probably the 3rd best team in the Western Division behind Alabama and Texas A&M. So they've done a tremendous job. And I think that acquiring a veteran quarterback with SEC experience, i.e. Feleipe Franks, just as you said, has been as valuable an addition as anybody they could have had. We know that Feleipe Franks has big-time ability. I mean, it hasn't been one coach. It's been many coaches that have seen Feleipe Franks and felt this is the guy that's got to play. And there are some thinking that if Feleipe Franks doesn't get hurt against Kentucky a year ago, Kyle Trask may be playing for somebody else and maybe putting up those kind of numbers for somebody else, that Feleipe still would be the Florida quarterback. There are a lot of people that believe that. He had that gruesome injury in the game against Kentucky last year, and then Trask came off the bench, rallied us. We were down when Feleipe went out, and he rallied to Florida to win that game, and then, he played great the rest of the year, and now this year he's having a sensational season. I will say this, my analyst, Lee McGriff, who was an all-SEC receiver at Florida back in the 70s, when he saw Kyle Trask, the first spring practice, he said, Mick, that's our quarterback. I said, well, most coaches think it's Feleipe Franks. He goes, I like this Kyle Trask. So nobody more excited for Kyle Trask than our analyst, Lee McGriff, because he identified him as the guy that he liked the way he threw the ball. He throws the ball very much similar to Danny Werfel, in that he puts a lot of feathers on throws, and it's a very catchable ball. Feleipe Franks, on the other hand, when he was here, threw a very, very, very hot pass sometimes. It went through receivers' hands. But Feleipe has matured. I mean, he had control of that locker room. The players loved him. And there were fans that loved him. Now, there were also a sizable amount of fans that booed him. And when he got booed in that game against South Carolina a couple of years ago, it turned the corner for Florida. That was Dan Mullen's first year. We were getting beat by the Gamecocks, and Will Muschamp, our former coach, and Feleipe got booed, and all of a sudden he turned it on. And Feleipe almost put the team on his shoulders in that fourth quarter, rallied Florida to win. They won, and they kept winning. And they went out and beat Michigan in the bowl game, a New Year's Six bowl game. And then he was the incumbent quarterback last year and was going to have, I think, a really fine season until he got hurt. And then, I think that these guys, there are a lot of guys on this team that are in this locker room still at Florida that love Feleipe Franks. And so they're going to want to compete. That's what competitors do. They want to beat each other, but there's a tremendous amount of respect. And what we saw really is from game to game, and this is not an indictment of Feleipe Franks. It's this way with a lot of players and a lot of quarterbacks. You never know which one you're going to get. Now, basically this year, Feleipe Franks has played very well as an outsider looking in. When I see his numbers, 14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and 67%, I believe that's an Arkansas record pace for a season completion. So he has played like you would hope a fifth-year guy would play. He's given Arkansas a chance to win all these games, and he's played very, very well. So there's great respect for him, and we know we're going to have to play well against him because he threw that miracle pass about 70 yards to Tyreek Cleveland in the end zone to beat Tennessee in the last play of the game a couple of years ago. And, then he had about a 68 or 70-yard run against Texas A&M. So he can do it with his legs. He can do it with that strong arm. And like I said, he wins the respect of his teammates.
Speaking to Mick Hubert, the voice of the Florida Gators, here with us on Halftime. Mick, I think just when you look at Florida from the outset, and we've talked about it all week here, the offense that Florida presents is just as potent as anything in the country. And I think one of the key cogs of that is Kyle Pitts, and he took a nasty hit during that Georgia game. Is there an update that you could provide for us on Kyle Pitts' statuses for the game? I think the last we were told he's listed as questionable. Is he going to be available Saturday, or do you have any info that you can share with us?
Yeah, no, I think that's the deal. Questionable. Dan Mullen just said that within the last hour that he still remains questionable. And, I don't know exactly what all the steps are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on that protocol. He may still be doing some of those things even this afternoon. So my gut feeling is he probably is not going to play. But I don't know that because I don't know what his baseline was, all that medical stuff. I don't know what he needed to. I don't know the answers he needed to give to prove that he was where he was 2 weeks ago, But the hit, as you mentioned, was tremendous. And at the time, it looked like the other guy, Lewis Steen from Georgia. It looked like he didn't know where he was. I think he probably took the worst of it, the player that leveled the blow. So if Pitts doesn't go, that's a loss for Florida for sure. I mean, he's a nightmare of matchup. But we did get a good tight end play last week when Kamori Gamble came in and got a touchdown pass, and Keon Zipperer, the other tight end. So I don't think that'll change what Florida's going to do at all. If the matchups present themselves that the tight end is available, Trask will go to him. That's what's made Trask so special. He's not just been locked in on one guy. He can really see sideline to sideline and see the second, third, and fourth receivers, and he's just kind of gone where the guy's been open. And that's really what's made him very effective is that he's a tough guy, and he can run for a few yards, but he's not the runner that Feleipe Franks is. But his vision on the field is what's made Trask special, and hopefully that will continue. We know this: Arkansas has been a very opportunistic defense, and all those 12 picks and 15 takeaways. And if you're going to be an Arkansas team, go on the road and come in the swamp and beat Florida, you're going to have about 3 or 4 takeaways. That's how those upsets happen. You gotta hope that you can be a good ball hawk and try and steal some of those footballs.
Got just a few more seconds here with you, Mick. I know we started off this segment just talking about your incredible broadcasting career. I mean, you've called championship moments for the Florida Gators in all 3 major sports, and for all the incredible things we've seen you call. I mean, the call that you made with Feleipe Franks throwing the Hail Mary in Tennessee, just all those moments together. But it's got to be cool for you and a real feather in your cap to being able to say that you've called 3 championship moments for all 3 of the major sports.
Well, it really is. It's a tremendous blessing, I've been so blessed. I mean, I grew up in the Chicago area, did not go to school at Florida. By the grace of God that I'm here, and be able to call football, basketball, and baseball championships. I was just on a Zoom call about an hour ago with Danny Werfel, and what a tremendous Heisman Trophy winner on and off the field he is. And I didn't think we'd ever see another Danny Werfel. Then a decade later, we got a guy named Tim Tebow come in, and he wins the Heisman Trophy with the stage even bigger than it was a decade earlier. So, and to work with the Hall of Fame coaches I've worked with, from the Steve Spurrier to the Billy Donovans, those guys, and Andy Lopez, our baseball coach, tremendous man. This is what I've always wanted to do since I was a little kid, to be able to sit there and do it, and to meet my idols and Dick Enberg, whom I stole the "Oh My" from, and to get his blessing signing off on using that some 17 years ago. I mean, I get paid to go watch a football game, and paid to watch a basketball game, a baseball game. And, we've got 3 football titles, and Billy Donovan won us back-to-back titles in 06 and 07 in basketball. And then sitting there in Omaha in 2017, seeing Florida beating LSU, of all teams, LSU, 9 or 10-time national champions in baseball, and to win the College World Series did bring tears to my eyes, because I didn't think of it in terms of a hat trick of winning all of them. I'm thinking this is the first one ever for Florida baseball, and it's been tremendous. So I've just been the right man at the right place with being blessed to do this, and this is about the only thing I know how to do. I don't know that I have any other skills than any other thing. So to be able to be here and stay here for this big 32 years now has been. It's been tremendous. Hopefully I got a lot of years left to come, because I love doing this. I love calling the games. What I really love is what I was doing before you called, and that's doing the preparation, the Monday through Friday in football season now, that is, Monday through Friday work that you do getting ready for a game, all the grunt work, all the stats and the stuff, and watching the tape and doing all that kind of stuff, so that on Saturday I just become a fan. I just go to the game, sit back, and now I can put to work everything I've studied, and if I've studied really well, really hard, then it should come easy to me. And some games it does come easy. Other games you get a little tongue-tied. You think, boy, I'm not sharp today. I need to get sharper, But the old question there is, in broadcasting, here's the secret to broadcasting is never let them see you sweat.
Well, hopefully they won't hear it either. Mick, I appreciate your time and all your thoughts. Really appreciate you joining us. Thanks so much. Have a good call tomorrow. I know you will.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
I appreciate
Mick.
being on with you guys.
Absolutely. Mick Taylor joining us here on Halftime, longtime voice of the Gators.